All right. I'm really very excited to talk to you today about how the blockchain technology can help record recurring transactions in a more effective and efficient way. Happy to have worked with an international group of people, the details of whom you can find on the paper. Um, at the bottom of any economic transaction, we have a contract, be it implicit or explicit, whereas the transaction are the building block in any economic relationship. A very important distinction in a transaction is that it has two parts. One is the accrual, and then the second is the payment parts, which we don't often get to make the distinction of. This is coming more handy to the accountants, which are used to making that distinction, but let's go to those not familiar with accounting standards. So the first part of the transaction, the accrual part, relates to recording the rights and obligation that has arisen from a transaction, whereas the second part is the actual settlement through the cash payments. This is the overall architecture of our prototype, which is based upon a asset rental use case where the supplier and the customers interact and record their details of the transaction in the blockchain. A contract can be boiled down to 5 parameters, even though sometimes the number of pages may look intimidated, and those are the parties to the contract, supplier and customer. Transaction type, in our case, will be a recurring. We're talking about a recurring type of transaction. Amount, duration, and of course, the terms. That's the prototype control flow. However, as opposed to us going through the theoretical aspects of this diagram, I would like to jump into show you how the prototype works. All right, so we'd like to give you a sneak peek as to how the prototype is working. First, the supplier would need to propose a contract to the customer, and to this end, the supplier needs to go to the proposed contract window. It is worthwhile mentioning that on to the left side of our screen, we have the supplier window, whereas onto the right-hand side, we will have the client window showing the interaction between the two. So let's go with the supplier proposing the contract. Supplier fills in the identification details of the supplier of his own. First detail is the account type. We can select here either an individual or a company. Let's go with the individual type. Supplier name, I'll put myself as a landlord. Let's say test 11. Interestingly, the supplier public address gets automatically filled in by the prototype from the MetaMask digital wallet. Let us check that this is the right account, which it is. Next, same information we need to fill in for the customer information, but again, worthwhile mentioning by the supplier. So let's click again, individual type, customer name. I will select here on my friend and co-author to this paper. Public address. Public address is supposed to be received by the supplier prior to filling in this information. So I had it copied to my clipboard. And the last thing is the contract detail. And since this is an asset rental contract, let's call it like this. Type, we have 2 types of contracts, either recurring or one-off type of contracts. As an asset rental contract, we'll select recurring with monthly payment. Let's go for 1 Ether monthly payment, starting on the 7th of November 2022 and ending in 1 year time on the 7th of November 2023. In terms of the contract, let's go for the US civil law terms. Let's say no smoking. And one last thing, it's small pets would be allowed subject to approval by the landlord. I would like to point out that in the terms part, you can fill in all the necessary details that are required by the law, but we'll stick to these small details just for the purpose of the demo. Then supplier clicks the submit contract. And at this stage, we have a proposed contract by the supplier to the customer. We can view that, we can access the view one, and we'll see all the details that we've already inputted and the pending approval from customer notification. If we move on to the customer side of the screen, we'll see the same information. However, this time around, instead of getting a pending approval from the customer, we'll have two options here: accept or reject contract. Let's go for the accept scenario, and this will directly trigger the MetaMask digital wallet of the customer to confirm the transaction. I would like to point out at this stage that there is no actually money flow from the customer to the supplier, except for the gas fee necessary to write this contract to the Ethereum blockchain. Let's click confirm to have this contract up and running, and we'll need to wait around 15 to 20 seconds for this to go through. Wow, so here we go, we have an accepted contract. So let us go to accepted to the accepted contract and view. Yeah, so this is what we had installed. Let us go now to the Explorer part to see the details of this contract. So it's contract number 11. We've made various tests. Okay, so we see the contract here. Now let us make the payment to this contract. We now see that we have an accepted contract. So let's go and make a payment. We have the customer pays, let's say 1 Ether. It's the end of the month, or it's just a deposit. Again, it automatically triggers the MetaMask. This time around, in addition to the gas fee, we will obviously need to pay the 1 Ether, which is the monthly payment. So we click confirm. Again, we need to wait like 15 to 20 seconds. I'm always getting anxious at this stage, but oh, here we go. Successful payment. So we close that part. So let's go back to the Explorer. Let's click on the contract 11. So here, in addition to what we have already had, the first line was the initially accepted contract. Now we will also have the payment as such. Let's click on the first line to see the detail. We have the timestamp as to when the contract was created, supplier, customer, public addresses, amount, monthly payment, total amount 12, and left to pay this month is 1 Ether. I would like to point out that this is the accrual part for the month. So we have the customer has an obligation to pay to the supplier, and this is getting recorded onto the Ethereum blockchain. If we go on to the second line, we see here the actual payment, but again we have the same information: timestamp, customer, supplier, public addresses. But this time around we have the amount 1 Ether, monthly payment 1 year, total amount is 12 because that's the whole amount for the whole year. But this time around we have left to pay for this month 0 because the customer has already paid. So that's it in a nutshell. There is still a lot of work to cover for us, but I think we have enough ground to extract the necessary information in order to significantly reduce the work of account keepers and auditors. A significant part of our research work involved the discovery that automatic recurring payments are not supported natively in a non-custodial manner by the Ethereum blockchain, which means that even though we have managed to automatically record monthly the accrual and side of the transaction, which is the rights and obligations, in order to make a payment, you would need to monthly access your digital wallet. This has triggered the development on a new standard by IEEE, which has been recently approved to start. We have the number on the slide, of which the project of which I'm a member of. In addition to that, I would like to encourage you to take a look at the related papers of ours called Recurring Payments on EVM-based platforms, where we attempt to provide a solution to the recurring payment identified problem. Use cases for our prototype are endless, I would say. We start with the asset rental lease cases, but we can go on with loan payments, utilities, monthly payments, gas, electricity, any subscription-based services, insurance. Very important, even employee salary, taxes, as long as they're recurring and ideally fixed in amount. Future work, we would like to integrate the recurring payment automation into our prototype in order to provide a seamless experience between the supplier and customer. And last but not least, we need to address some of the issues related to the privacy of transactions, as many economic players would like to keep certain details of their transaction private. In a snapshot, our prototype provides readily accessible audit history, tamper-proof and time-stamping of financial information, continuous verification of economic transaction. Again, if I want you to remember anything, is the difference between the accrual and the payment part, which are two distinct parts of a transaction. Ultimately, this would lead to automated execution of the recurring transaction and a significant reduction of work done by auditor and accountants, which will ultimately lead to reduced risk. Last but not least, I'm pointing to the significant discovery, which goes to show that the blockchain, even though it provides a lot of leverage and advantages, has still some certain limitation that we all need to work in order to overcome. I cannot do it better, faster.
Sunt 15 minute și 20 de